Dr. Cook, it's 9:30.
Yes, it is, Dr. Wyckoff.
I know we'll have more people joining us, so welcome to the webinar today.
Yes.
It's a beautiful day in Kansas if you like fog.
Yes, it is.
And in our building today, we have all of the Gemini schools in our region here today, so
Yes.
it's an active redesign day.
It is at that, and we're delighted to have the Wellington crew on to help us through questions with redesign and share the things they're doing. So, Dr. Wyckoff, welcome to the January redesign.
Yeah, and I want to welcome Jen Kern. Jen is the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. Did I get that right, Jen?
Yes, you did. And technology.
And technology.
Mm-hmm.
She's a big deal around here.
Oh,
I tell you,
she's important.
Yes, she is.
Working to death, you know.
Steph, you're the assistant principal at Wellington High School.
That's correct.
Tell us your last name again.
Smith.
I think I can remember that.
It's pretty easy. Do you need me to spell it? I can.
Probably. Hey, we want to start out. Jen, tell us a little bit about Wellington and your journey as a Mercury school.
Oh gosh. So this journey began for me really right after I started with Wellington, which is been a year and a half ago. And the district had decided that they wanted to apply to be a Mercury school. So I had the opportunity to go through the process with Stephanie Smith and Principal John Buckendorf. And well, actually at that time, Stephanie was the principal at Kennedy. And
okay.
Yes. And John was at the high school. And we went through the application process, which is pretty lengthy, and had gotten a consensus from the entire district to go forth with it. So we went through that process and then started looking at platforms that might work for us. And one of the platforms that we looked at was Edgenuity, which a lot of people use for credit recovery, and we didn't feel like it was project-based.
Spark was another one.
And Spark was another one that we looked at, but it wasn't really interactive. And then KSDE kind of had us look at Summit, and so we looked at Summit a little closer, and we were really impressed because it had the project-based piece already in it. And it had a whole list of habits of success.
It addressed, we have a 5-pointed star, which is we developed a redesign committee at both the elementary school and the high school. And it consisted of community members, parents, teachers. And so that's how we first kind of started the journey along with this. But we have a 5-pointed star that we have as our redesign. And that is personalized blended learning, social emotional well-being, college and credit industry, civic engagement, and then project-based learning. Those were our 5 principles that encompassed our redesign. So as Dr. Kern said, Summit seemed to address the majority of this 5-pointed star with the social emotional through the mentoring, the project-based learning, and the personalized blended learning, which is why we chose to go with Summit.
So,
Steph, what was the process you used to determine those 5 major themes?
I think this started a couple of years ago when Dr. Whitener first came on, and we needed to develop a vision, a common vision with everyone. So he surveyed teachers, he surveyed the community, he surveyed business members and asked what they needed, what they felt was lacking, what they wanted. And from that kind of developed this vision of being leaders of innovative, future-focused, real-world learning. So from that, we thought, what is going to make our students successful when they leave us while responding to the community, while responding to business leaders of what they want from our students when they leave us.
Yeah. Tell me, I'm going to ask you to go back in your, your resources in your brain. Was there anything that the community, that feedback that really jumped out at you? Were there any ahas from that?
I think
Everything was kind of common as far as
yes.
the
And-
real world was probably the biggest component. The
Yes.
real world learning was the biggest component, I
and,
think.
And just thinking about how those things aren't in a traditional setting. Those aren't integrated in a traditional setting, which you would think that we would integrate those kinds of experiences within the school day, but we haven't been. So we wanted kids to learn how to work together and to think together and to cooperate on projects. And we wanted kids to also be able to take control of their own learning in some way and be able to work ahead if they wanted to, or to be able to do things again if they didn't get it the first time. So those are things that were a game changer for us.
I think the business industry was the biggest aha moment when we sat down and met with them, and they said, we don't have a pool to choose from. They can't show up on time.
Yeah.
They're not showing up on time. They're not motivated. Once they complete a task, they have to be told what to do and not, be self-directed. And so I think for us, that was the biggest wake-up call for us, is that when they pull from a select pool of applicants, ours were not the most qualified for that. And there are some skills and some habits of success, as Summit puts it, that they don't have.
And stick with itness, I think, is another thing that the business
Yes.
industry said, they job hop too much, or that perseverance piece, they just don't have it. And, when you have courses that you go through and take a test and you're done with that section, and you go to the next section, take a test, and you're done, that really doesn't show that perseverance that you're going to master that section before you go to the next section, not just test on it and be done. So mastering the material has become something that that the Summit structure has really helped us with.
We're asking them to be thinkers and problem solvers now.
Yeah. I've had the opportunity to visit with a lot of business people, and these are my words, not theirs, but they also talk a lot about the kids need academic skills, but they need them in the context of using them to accomplish something,
Right.
not just knowing them.
Absolutely.
Right.
Okay.
You have to go deeper than just the knowledge. You have to have that critical thinking component, and kids have to be able to problem solve. I mean, we problem solve every day in our jobs, and it's not just, you can have someone that has the content and knows the skills, but if you don't know how to problem solve, if a crisis arises, what good is that knowledge to you?
And to communicate what you know and why it's important.
Yeah.
So-
You know what? Go ahead, Mike.
Well, it sounds to me like you found a heavy theme from the business community focused around employability skills. So, and you've talked about a little bit of perseverance and stick-to-itness and those things. What other things popped out at it? Was it, you mentioned, they don't show up on time, and what are things you're doing that are hitting those other employability skills? Are you doing some of those things, or are they in the works?
Throughout our schools. So Summit has the 16 habits of success. And so that really resonated with us, because it's dealing with perseverance. It's dealing with self-efficacy. It's dealing with regulation. It's dealing with those employability skills that someone needs. And it's a hierarchy where if you don't have the base of resilience, or you don't have that emotional attachment to somebody, you can't build your way up that hierarchy. So that really kind of stuck out to all of us. And we're trying to push that into all of our schools to work on those 16 different habits that will lead to success. Also, that social emotional well-being goes hand in hand with that as well.
The mentoring piece and the relationship piece is kind of the beginning, and building that so that our teachers really know what our students need and how to help them with that.
So
In fact, I have a poster up on my wall. I can show you the 16 habits of success here. Don't know if you can see it clearly or not, but those are the 16 habits of success that we try to focus on throughout the year with our students throughout the school. And I know all schools are. All our elementaries are. The middle school is. We're all focusing on these habits to make students successful in life.
That so tell us a little bit. Even with your elementary, what does it mean? What's the redesign look like? What are you doing as schools?
So, and like I said, Stephanie started this, so at the elementary, so she can start by talking about
So with the elementary, what we started last year was doing more of the personalized learning by, instead of always doing a whole group instruction, we broke up into small group instructions based on student needs. So that really started this process with that personalized learning at the elementary level, and we did more project-based learning. There would be and we would do it as a whole school. There would be a theme throughout the whole school, and everybody would work together to cross-curricularly work on a project theme, bring the community in, go out to the community. So that kind of started that. We got back to families again, where kindergarten through 5th grade, you have one teacher who you are with that family through the duration of your school career. So if you're in kindergarten, you'll be with that same family all the way through till you get out of elementary school. So, and they would meet bi-weekly. Sometimes they would do a luncheon. They may do a craft, but it's someone where they can feel safe. I know that this year the plan was to also start with that family sometimes in the morning to do a check-in on Mondays, because sometimes you just can't reset. Some of our students are, the trauma-based students, and so they need to be able to reset and not do anything else but come in, sit down, talk with someone, and start their day off on a right foot instead of opening a laptop or doing a worksheet. We wanted them to be emotionally and, socially and able to start their day. So that's kind of what our elementary looked like. Up here, what looks different is we've had the last several years the career cruising and the career pathways and the mentoring, but we've taken the mentoring to a different level. All of our freshmen and sophomores are on the Summit platform, and that looks a lot different than a traditional classroom. Our juniors and seniors are not this year. We just started freshman, sophomore, so they are all on this platform, the Summit platform, which Summit's what we use. It's our learning management system. The stuff is still ours. We can tweak what we want, but it has really personalized their learning and allowed them to move at a rate and a pace that's doable for them. We've created internships, so students are getting credit for internships, and they're getting out in the community and doing a lot of internships through the CTE program. We've opened a school store, which I know a lot of schools do. This was the first time for us. We opened a school store, and we're having a Crusader Wellness, which is we partnered with the Sumner Mental Health, which is our local health agency. They come in and offer workshops weekly to bi-weekly, and it's anything on self-esteem to managing stress at finals to coping with dealing with romantic relationships, what are healthy friendships, and so there's just a plethora of different topics for that.
Sure.
So a lot of things.
Jen, this may be a question for you, but it's for whoever wants to jump in. We have seen two big areas where the redesign is really impacted. Number one is the trauma and poverty, that learning how to work with kids with high ACEs scores, that stuff. The other part is a culture of change. And I'm interested, we've made the comment many times, schools are really good at addition, but they're not very good at subtraction.
Right.
Yeah, you've had some teachers that their pet thing is either abandoned or dramatically modified. How have you guys handled that culture of change piece?
it's hard. It's been really hard, and we're fortunate to have teachers that are working so hard and are positive about the change. But you know, when you have a big change like this, there has to be a why. You know, why are we changing, and why are we changing so drastically? And our scores over the last several years kind of show that why, and that is our curriculum's not rigorous enough. Our students aren't going to college like we would like them to, and succeeding at college. Some of them are going, but they're not being successful. So the why was easy to answer. And however, when you change the rigor in a district, it's harder, and it's harder for all kids, not just kids that struggle. It's hard for all kids, and it's a big change. So
it's a huge paradigm shift.
And we've been so fortunate to have Summit Training, because they're amazing trainers, and it's very, very intense, and we were exhausted every day that we went. But they weren't teaching us about the platform or their curriculum. They were teaching us about the habits of success and how to integrate that into your instruction, and how to use good instructional strategies to help students learn, and how to mentor students. So through this change, I think we went through all kinds of emotions just being trained. You know, we were just like, oh my gosh, you know, this, I don't know if we can do it. And then we were like, okay, we got this. And then, you know, we'd go back and forth.
There's speed bumps. There's definitely speed bumps in the road.
Yes.
That's a good description.
Yeah, lots of speed bumps. But, you know, with so many people, great people to work with, collaborating and finding ways to overcome the issues that we've had are happening, and now we know what we didn't know. So going forward, we feel so much more confident in what we need to do to make it great. So our elementaries that haven't started redesign yet, and our middle school, we feel like we can help them as well as anyone else starting, to know what not to do, or what things to look at, you know, as you're going in.
Yeah. Jen, I see that. Go ahead and finish. I'm sorry.
No, I was just saying the change has been hard, but you know, our teachers will tell you they've never worked so hard in their life, but they have never learned so much, and feel like that they feel like great teachers because of the way we're doing it.
Yeah. I see that. Is Jillian, did I pronounce that correctly? Tell us, you've been listening to this conversation, and a lot of it was around the high school level. Tell us about at the elementary level, how's it going?
It's going good. The speed bumps is definitely a good way to describe how our year started, but our teachers are doing a great job. Summit provides a lot of support, a lot of resources. So they have biweekly phone calls with myself and our instructional coach. They've come out to work with our teachers in small groups. And we've just learned through the process what supports the teachers need. So there have been times that Dr. Kern has come over, and her and the instructional coach will sit down with our team and work with them. I think the biggest hump is getting to know the platform and just being comfortable with maneuvering around that and putting your own resources in it. Once we figured that out, our teachers love it. Our kids from day one have navigated better than we have, but kids are much better at technology than adults. Anyways, so we've really received a lot of support. Our parents at the elementary level have been very open. They have a lot of questions, but they've been very open to this resource being used. And we've had great experiences. It provides a much more rigorous curriculum than our students in this district have seen, but it's something that they need to see.
Yeah.
Okay.
What other issues have you seen at the elementary building? What have some of those speed bumps been?
Really, for both staff and students, getting them comfortable in the platform. So teachers knowing how to navigate, how to take things out that maybe they're not comfortable with, or put things in. Time management is a huge one, especially for staff. Once they've gotten the hang of it, that's gotten better, but that was difficult for us at first. With students, really just getting them comfortable with the platform, and then they have flown. Some speed bumps that we've encountered with our families are the unknown is nerve-wracking to parents. You know, what exactly is Summit? Are the kids still learning in a traditional way, or are they just learning based from a computer? So parents have had to kind of see what that platform looks like, and we've had a lot of meetings and question answer sessions. And I think the more they get to know about it, the more they understand this is just a resource. We're still teaching the same things we've taught in a lot of different ways. We're just using the skeleton of Summit platform to help us as a resource. So we have not had quite as many speed bumps with parents. They've been pretty supportive at the elementary level.
You know, we've had Fred Van Rankin from Twin Valley, yep, and Gordon Moan from McPherson, and they both use Summit. McPherson's had some real speed bumps, sure, with pushback from community.
Yeah.
Have you had any strong pushback with Summit Learning?
At the elementary level, we haven't. Ours have just been a lot of questions, but our parents have been really good about coming in and either meeting with me or with our teachers just to ask the questions. We've shown them what the platform looks like. We held a parent night where it was just kind of an open forum of here's what it looks like, here's why we're using it, what questions do you have, so we can cater, you know, this session around you. And we really have not had a lot of pushback at the elementary level.
Jen, how about the high school level?
Now at the secondary level, there has been some pushback, and part of it was, like I said, we know now what we didn't know then. So our original plan, after looking at different districts and kind of deciding what we wanted a more flexible schedule so that kids could come in and work with teachers at a flexible time. They could work on their own, they could work with other students, and not have to kind of go by a bell schedule. So once we chose our platform and went to Summit Learning, and it was explained to us that it is still pretty structured. The teachers are still going to be giving that explicit instruction and then turning them loose on their own for a little bit, and the projects are going to be at a pace that the students will complete together. They can move ahead through the platform, but the projects have to be done together. So we were disappointed when we found that out, because we had already communicated to our community that it would be more flexible. So that was part of the pushback that we received in, well, now you said this and you're not going to be able to do that. Well, we're still working on it. And I think the more we get used to the platform, the more flexible we can be. So our teachers are not only learning a new curriculum, a new platform, a new structure, that's a lot to learn in a year. So hopefully we can fix some of those issues. The other piece that was difficult, oh gosh, I just lost my train of thought.
That only happens to us old people.
I know. I was like, okay, I have all of my things. And so the flexibility of this. Oh, the other one was that you would have a choice whether you were going to work in Summit or whether you were going to work in traditional. So when we did that survey, we had like 96% of our kids wanted to try the Redesign Summit way. So we thought, okay, you know, there's so many that want to do it that we're just all in. We're just going to go ahead and do this with freshmen and sophomore. We're going to let all of them do it. Well, then once they got in and it was harder than they expected or different because of the schedule, and some of them were thinking, well, I'm not sure that I want to do this anymore. Well, the problem with that is that once you're all in, to have a traditional track, then you'd have to hire that many teachers to teach the traditional track. So you can't really have 90% of your kids in one and then just a few kids in the other, because you don't have enough teachers to do that.
Yeah.
So that was a problem as well. So those are the kinds of things that, you know, looking back, we're just like, we wish we knew then what we know now, but we're trying to make some changes to come to a medium here. So,
Yeah.
So is there any one thing that sticks out in either of you from Wellington? Is there anything that sticks out that you've stopped doing? You know, Steve brought up earlier, we're really good at adding, but we're not good at subtracting. Is there anything that sticks out that you've taken off of the plate?
Oh gosh.
I would say at the elementary level, just getting used to it at first, we kind of fell behind in our pacing. And so we've adjusted the pacing and we've said, okay, it's not manageable for us to get this done. It probably will be for next year, but when you're first learning something, it's just harder. So we have adjusted our pacing. We've taken off some focus areas just to make it more manageable for the students, but also make sure that we're still covering all the standards and skills that we need to cover.
Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. Jen, I called up your report card with your effective success rate. I'm assuming when you talk about your data, you need to impact that.
Yes.
How are you, K-12, thinking about and talking about impacting that effective success rate, helping more kids be successful?
Well, I mean, the rigor for sure is hopefully going to affect that, but the habits of success that Stephanie showed you earlier, we feel like those are key. I mean, to help kids to feel like they are in control of their learning. So we feel like that is helping us. We have also, we have a strong MTSS program that we're working with because we feel like we have a lot of holes we need to fill, and MTSS is really helping us with that.
Yeah.
And that's something that I don't think has been easy in scheduling wise, but it's been important. So I feel like that's going to help us help our scores. But the biggest thing I still think is going to be that mentoring piece, because each of our teachers feels like they know their kids more than they ever have. And we know that research says that's such a huge piece of the puzzle, is to have a mentor that really knows what the students need and how to help them to get what they need.
Jen, can you describe how you're using your individual plans of study?
So, in fact, I was just talking to the counselors before coming into this webinar, and we are implementing our plans of study within Infinite Campus, and rather than Career Cruising. So we use both of those platforms, but Infinite Campus seems to just be a lot easier, and it kind of all puts everything together. But
Can you give us a brief description of Infinite Campus? Because not a lot of schools are using it.
okay, Infinite Campus is just our student information system. So that's where all our grades go, and all of our contact information and so forth. So, and there's several of those kinds of systems out there, but it's a lot easier to take as much as you can within your student information system and use that rather than importing everything into it. So that's helped us so that we know what kids need and where they're going. But it also is so important to find out, what kind of track that the students are on. So if they want to go to a 4-year college, they're going to need different courses than someone that is planning on going to technical school or maybe not even, maybe going straight into industry.
Yeah, an apprenticeship program.
Right, exactly. So that plan of study helps them. Now, not all kids know what they want to do as a freshman, so you can totally edit that as you go. And so we have sample plans of study so that kids can see, okay, if you plan on going into the medical field someday, these are courses that you absolutely want to have in high school. And if you get these courses done, then by the time you're a junior and senior, you can start taking dual credit courses so that by the time you're done with high school, you have all of those basics out of the way. And that's our plan. We want kids to, as a parent, it's amazing to have courses that are either free or super cheap in high school and get 2 years of education out of the way and get a jump start on college. So the individual plans of study help with that and help students to really think about early on, what do I want to do when I get out of high school? Otherwise, they kind of don't see the end. They don't have the end in mind. So that's kind of what we're doing with those and helping students that in career cruising helps us to find what their potential could be. Now, that's not always accurate. Maybe a student wants to be a doctor, but the career cruising says that they're going to be a teacher, and if they're like, nope, I'm going to be a doctor, then they can still, they're still going that way. But it gives them a clue as to answer those questions, what direction that, or what things that they might want to choose if they have absolutely no idea.
Jen, one of the things that we've heard a lot from schools is that they're talking a lot to kids about what do you like to do and what are you good at. And that's led to a conversation, Jillian, especially at elementary and middle school. How are we letting kids do more stuff so that they have something to draw on when you say, what are you good at and what do you like to do? Traditionally, most of our kids have sat in a desk and listened to a teacher. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to say, well, I want to be A or I want to be B if you've never had any experiences. We always tell the story. We visited with an instructor from a lineman program, guys that crawl up poles in the weather and hang electrical lines. And he said, they're amazed. They always get kids enroll in that program. And the first day they won't climb the pole because they're afraid of heights.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
You probably ought to think of that.
It was great, but then you really get there and it's like, oh, I can't do that. And I think the STEM projects, at the elementary or projects in general, it gives the students choice. And Summit is great in that way. You have a choice whether you want to do a poster, whether you want to do a presentation, or whether you want to build a model. So people that are more creative can choose a creative route, or if you want to choose using technology to give your presentation, or maybe you are a better speaker and you just want to talk about it. So I think that helps them to find their strengths when there's a variety of things that they can do to show what they've learned.
Yeah. Jillian, at the elementary level, are you consciously trying to have kids do more stuff, different kinds of experiences, or have you always done a lot of stuff in elementary in Wellington?
My understanding is, this is my first year here in Wellington, but we are trying to become more project-based, not just with our summit, students in 4th and 5th grade, but at K through 5. So we have asked our teachers to just have more project-based learning. Our instructional coach intently works with them on what are you doing? How are we making sure it's matching the standards, and how are we making sure they achieve those goals? And then the Summit Learning Platform makes it much easier because those projects are built into those. So our students, K-5 here, have loved the project-based learning. Absolutely love it.
Yeah.
And they talk about it outside of class. They invite you in to see what they're doing. I think to them, it doesn't feel like learning. It feels like they're having fun. But to us, we know that they're learning. So it's something that we're working on across the board. We've invited guest speakers in. So that will happen more at the 5th grade level so that they can start thinking about those career choices. They work on that more at the middle school level, but we want them to start thinking in their background about what type of things am I going to be interested in. So when they build their plan of study, they know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, they've had an experience to draw on when they do that. Yeah, that seems to be really important. For both of you, when I look at your effective success rate, but I look at your predicted effective rate, it's 40 to 44% basically, which tells me you have a lot of risk factors in Wellington, a lot of kids with risk factors. Mm-hmm. How have you addressed that?
That,
talking about high poverty.
yeah, she came in at just the perfect time. Yes.
Are you talking about the high poverty and low socioeconomic? That's why we had the social emotional well-being component in that to help those students cope, to help them realize their potential, to help them understand how to deal with things. We have a social worker and counselor at every single school in the district to help those students, and they meet with them frequently. We also have a partnership to where with Sumner Mental Health that if they can't go to the agency, they will come into the schools. So eliminating that transportation issue of skipping appointments because parents can't get them there or they don't have a means for transportation. So that social worker and counselor have been monumental in helping with that aspect of it.
Yeah. Jillian, has that been the same at the elementary level?
Yes, exactly the same. We provide that throughout the whole district. Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a question, Dr. Cook?
No, I think about, and you said, you had a counselor and a social worker, counselor or social worker at each and every building. And I've visited with several superintendents, and there's that idea is being expanded into other districts. I think primarily because Kansas does have a high poverty and trauma situation in our young people. How has that impacted budget issues and personnel budget issues and things like that? Because, I'm hearing an underlying theme that you have not had to really go after more budget, but you've redirected existing budget. Can you give us some insights that others might be able to tap into to how have you maybe redirected resources on that side of the ledger?
So you don't think Bill Gates has written him a check?
No, I doubt that Bill has done that. And
you didn't get your check this year? We got ours. Yeah, right. Kidding.
Well, ours is in the mail. Ours is in the mail.
Okay.
I talked to Bill last week.
And I'm pretty sure that a unicorn delivered yours.
Yes, we had 2 unicorns deliver it.
One of the big changes in curriculum is that now there's so much open source curriculum available. So we have saved a lot and in curriculum money by being able to access, like for instance, at the elementary, we use Engage New York. And actually we use that K through 8 for our math curriculum, and that's downloadable online, free curriculum, all standards-based curriculum, which is amazing. Well, when we went to Summit, we found out that that was the same curriculum uploaded into the Summit platform, which kind of shows you it's just a platform that you can upload curriculum into. So money, you know, that's also been free. So Summit has been free PD, and it has been free curriculum, so that we can actually look at our money and put it in our people.
And they prioritized. That was a huge priority. They said, this is a priority for us. How do we make that happen? And then just made it happen. If that's going to be a priority and that's something that is prevalent within your district, you have to find a way to make it happen. I don't think that's something that you can sacrifice, the emotional well-being of your kids.
Yeah.
It's the Jim Chadwick theory.
Yeah, you can do anything you want. You just can't do everything you want.
You just got to decide what it is you want to do.
Okay, so let's talk about the third rail a little bit, textbooks. Has that been an issue for you? You're smiling.
Yeah, we're one-to-one now, at least at the high school and middle school, we're one-to-one. We're almost there at the elementary, and we will be by next fall. So we use a lot of resources that way online, but like I said, you know, that's what we use our open source resources for. And our new reading series that we're looking at, we've been researching all year long, trying to find the perfect reading curriculum for us that will fit into, that has all the components we're looking for as far as project-based, social emotional integration of social studies and science, and of course all aligned with the standards. So there are amazing open source resources out there, and we actually found those by looking at the highest rated reports on Ed Reports, and we're down to 2 of them, and we've been talking about how, and both of these open source resources have project-based learning integrated within it, and they also have the social emotional piece that we're looking for, and phonics, which you can't really find a lot of the ELA curriculums that are strong in everything, but there are open source resources there that we will be using instead of textbooks. So the main cost of that, of course, is just buying your trade books and buying, you know, getting reading resources in their hands.
Steph, I want to shift gears just a little bit to the high school. How many pathways do you have in your high school?
Oh gosh, we have, that's a good question. We have upwards to,
Ballpark.
I was going to say almost 15, around 15 different pathways. Yeah.
What are you doing for the kids who, in their individual plan of study, are moving towards a pathway that you don't have?
Well, luckily, we have a community college just right down the street from us. So we are able to offer more offerings to them. So we are building upon that. And if there is something that a student wants, we're really consciously looking at being able to offer that pathway. Every year we expand more and more. And I think with the partnership with the college, that's going to be even more beneficial to offer more pathways for the students. So that was a huge asset to our community.
We're so lucky. I mean, it's right by the high school, and it offers technical and
general
ed.
Yeah, you know, I asked that question because one of the things we deal with are a lot of really small rural schools that literally every single kid in the senior class can have a different career field desire. And
Yes.
it's really difficult if you don't have those resources, and that's a problem we're working on all the time, because we got to figure that out. If we're going to talk about an individual plan of study, well, then we got to be prepared to help each kid with their plan of study.
And I think internships can help with that too, giving them that experience and giving them credit for that experience within that field of their chosen career pathway. So I think the internships that we just started that this year have really expanded on that as well.
Yeah.
Do you foresee those internships and other things that are going on with students in the community, or students being active in extracurricular things outside of school? Do you see any of the validation of learning that occurs outside the school being brought back to the school and counted for the credits toward core type subject areas?
That's what we're working on right now, is giving them credit for those experiences. So if I'm going out and let's just hypothetically say that I'm in architecture and architecture is my path, possibly giving them some math credit towards something. And those are directions that we're looking at, giving them core credit for those internships and those experiences where they're using real life mathematics or real world English because they work with a reporter on a news channel or something. Those are conversations we're having and directions that we are going.
Yeah.
Has there been any discussion or pushback from core subject area teachers on that?
At this time, no.
Excellent. Okay.
At this time, no. We, like I said, we are very fortunate that we have teachers who truly do want what's best for students, no matter what that may mean. So I feel we are very fortunate in this district to not only have the teachers' support, but we have an amazing district office and board who stand behind us 100% because they want to do what's best for kids. So I think we're very fortunate in that respect.
Yes.
It's pretty hard to argue against helping every child be successful, isn't it?
Yes, you would think, yes.
Hey, I want to pause for a second. Does anybody out there that's watching have questions for our guest today? Kevin Stuckey, you always have a question for us. He probably walked away from his desk.
I apologize, I had to step away for a little while.
You have a real job too?
I do, unfortunately.
Wow.
Just
Wears a lot of hats around here.
If anybody out there has a question, just go ahead and unmute your mic and we'll keep an eye on it. And Glenn will wave at us if we get somebody that unmutes. What kinds of things are you looking at when you look at other redesign schools? What are you looking for? What are you paying attention to out there?
I'm paying attention to things that we already have that they are doing really well that we can integrate into our system, because there are a lot of amazing things happening out there at different schools. And I think that we all kind of have a common vision. I believe that there's some commonality, there's a theme running throughout. And so we go to visit some different schools and we get great ideas. And I think just being able to converse with those schools and get ideas from them and vice versa, it's able to make our program stronger and our vision and the redesign stronger than what it would be as if we're just a standalone, think of the ideas ourselves, because there's some great things going on around the state.
Definitely.
I'm going to catch you off guard on this. What's the best thing you've stolen from somebody?
Well, we might be stealing something here pretty soon, but I will tell you that Coffeyville has an amazing project-based learning building, and it is remarkable.
Love to do that.
And the things that they're doing there with the project-based learning for students and them taking a pathway. So we saw a student who was in criminal justice, and of course there's standards that have to be met, but they get to choose a project to work on that incorporate all those standards that meet a passion for what they have. And I think that is an amazing thing. We've seen some great trauma-informed schools with a lot of the redesign schools, and that has been amazing how they're dealing with that. The committees that they put together, how they problem solve around students. So the social emotional has been a huge component of almost every single design, and they have great ideas. So we've kind of stolen some of their ideas in regards to the social emotional and trauma informed components.
Well, you may have just identified our next guest on our next webinar. Maybe, I assume that's Coffeyville High School since they're working on careers.
Yeah.
Travis.
We'll start working on that.
Yes, yes.
We're
I
like
was
you,
very pleased.
we're looking for those good things to steal also.
Well, they have some great things to steal. And like I said, the reason why I know, we've been in conversations with many of them, but I know we've visited there and we kind of have had a relationship where we've spoken more frequently than other schools, and they're doing amazing things too. Not to say that the other schools are not. I just haven't had a more in-depth look at the other schools.
So, Steph, I'm going to ask you this question, and I think I remember this, but at my age, memory is a problem.
It is, yeah.
So I'll admit that. Are your teachers staying in touch with your kids after they graduate? Are you following tell us what you're doing and how it's working.
That is something we are trying to expand upon. We actually want, this is funny that you asked this because we just talked about this probably a couple months ago. We have a lot of teachers in the district whose students go on and just, basic communication, where are they now? And of course the states, post-secondary. But we want to develop something when they enter their freshman year that has an email attached that we send them surveys frequently, not just post-secondary, but what do you feel that you need from us? And do that all 4 years, leave their email active for 4 to 5 years post-graduation and continue to send them those surveys. What do you think benefited you? What do you feel you didn't get? Where are you now?
Yeah,
that
what
way
are
we
you
can
doing
stay.
now? And we also thought, now that we're able to shoot out text messages as well, that might even be a better way, because we know that after high school, kids don't use email unless you make them, but they do use their phone. So if with their permission, if we could continue to send out those text surveys afterwards to find out if they're going to a technical college or a 4-year college, or if they've been able to jump into the industry right away, or how long they stay, what their struggles were, what can we do better to help prepare, and so forth.
We're really interested in following that, the progress of that. And I'll tell you why. One of our superintendents 2 years ago probably now, went through their graduation programs, where you list all the kids and you put down what they say they're going to do the next fall. Yeah. And, I'm going to KU and I'm going to Wichita State and I'm going to WSU. Less than half the kids actually did what they said.
Yes.
And, we've had a lot of conversations around that in many ways we browbeat kids into saying, I'm going to college. When their heart's not in it, and that's not what they want to do with their life. So we're really interested in your follow-up with that, where you truly care about what each kid wants to do. It's not about what we want them to do. Right. It's about the path that they've chosen.
Absolutely.
Jillian, what have we not asked you that you wish we would have? What do you want to tell us that we haven't asked?
Oh, hold on.
Unmute her, would you please, Glenn? Thank you.
Okay, you got to start over. We missed the first part, which was the most important.
Hold on, she's still there.
Yep.
Hold
there
on.
you go.
We're working on sound.
We got two of you going back and forth.
There you are. Okay.
Sorry about that. You guys have asked some great questions, and I've kind of been popping in and out, so I apologize for that. But I think you've covered everything that I can think of. I was new to this too. I wasn't part of the planning last year. Stephanie did that for our elementary school, but they've done a good job setting it up, and it's a process and learning, that's for sure.
If an elementary principal called you and said, should we get into redesign, what would you tell them?
I would tell them absolutely. And here are some things that we've learned that can make your road less bumpy.
That's what it's all about.
Steph, what have we not asked you that you wish we would have?
I think just what advice we would give going forward. I know the most critical component in all of this and your redesign process is communication with all of your stakeholders. This is huge. You have got to keep in constant communication with every single stakeholder. I know that one thing we have done to kind of problem solve, because this has not been perfect, this has not been smooth. I'm not going to say we haven't had pushback, because we have. We developed a parent advisory committee and a student advisory committee, and we meet monthly with that and take back their concerns to our redesign team, and we problem solve. So I highly encourage anybody that's going through this process to make sure, because it's easy just to get in your little bubble and think, okay, we need to make these decisions, and then you leave out some key players. And I think that's something we have learned through experience. But communication, you can never over communicate. Never.
And your teachers, they all need to be on the same page too. And they've done a great job of pulling the teachers together
almost once a week.
Yeah. And I know at the elementary, once a month, they get a sub for their teachers to just work all day and collaborate and to try to make sure that they're all on the same page and they understand what they need to make it work.
To invest the time.
What have the most effective methods of communication been? What's worked the best?
I think we've done so many different things. We've held town hall meetings. We've done mass communication letters. We've done mass text alerts. We've done mass emails.
I think your
you have to do
powerful
many
most powerful
forms.
Communication is going to come from your students.
Yes.
And
Is it what?
coming from your students. So because they're the ones doing
In the trenches.
And the students haven't always been super happy either, because it is different. It's hard, so those messages going out may be just that, but that often triggers communication then with the parents, so that you have those relationships and you can talk about what's happening. But yes, your students are going to be huge communicators in this whole thing.
In our conversation with Van Rankin at Twin Valley, he said they kind of went through a phase, especially with Summit Learning, where the kid said, "This is stupid, I hate it." Yep. And a month later was, "I love this." Yep. And, they've dealt some with kids that were really successful in a traditional system aren't as successful now, and vice versa. And he said, you've just got to communicate and live through those things. Yeah. We got just figure it out one day at a time.
Absolutely.
And think about something like basketball. You just don't go play basketball. You have to practice a while first, So it's kind of the same concept. We're practicing, we're getting better, and so are the students.
Jillian, the communication with elementary parents, a little different because it's different. The kids at elementary aren't going to communicate like the high school kids. What have you found to be the most effective communication strategies at the elementary level?
Anything face-to-face. So if a parent wants to talk about him, I invite them to come in. I don't want to answer questions over the phone. Come in so I can show you what it looks like, and we can dig into it and just have, build that relationship piece while you're also answering questions. We had a parent night that was hugely successful. We should have done it sooner in the school year, but we were still learning, and you don't know what you don't know. I would also say that for next year, we're going to try to focus more on being proactive instead of reactive. So we're going to communicate way ahead of time with students that are going to be going into the Summit platform, so that parents feel comfortable before they step in the foot, before their foot goes in the door in August. Here's what it looks like. Here's the questions that we've had come up in past years. We really want them to feel, before the year starts, that this is going to be a successful program for the students.
Good. Yeah, good.
And
Jim, what? Go ahead.
I'm sorry. You were going to ask me anyway. Both of the schools did an amazing job of implementing student-led conferences.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh.
And that was huge because it answered so many questions, and the student was there, the parent was there, the teacher was there, so you've got a clear understanding of what's happening.
What's the secret to success on student-led conferences?
That the
students have to buy in. I mean, they have to believe it and know what they're doing. They have to understand their strategies, their learning intentions, which our district is hugely working on. And the kids did a great job. And if they can sell that to their parents because that's how they truly feel, as a parent, you really have no recourse but to support it.
Yeah. At the high school level?
At preparation. I think preparation and practice, and again, knowing the why. Jillian hit it on the head when she said the learning intentions. They have to know the why and the learning intentions. We went from 3 years ago having a 26% turnout rate attendance at conferences to 90% attendance rate at conferences, going to student-led conferences. So it's more
That's amazing
when you listen to your students talk about their learning and what they're doing. It's more interesting than listening to a teacher talk about what's going on. It's powerful. It's more of a powerful message to parents, and they're more interested in that. So it's been
Steph, related to that, one of the conversations we had with a principal was that he said, we have an individual plan of study, but then we tell the kid, and now you get freshman English, sophomore English, junior English, senior English, algebra 1, geometry, algebra 2, you all get the same curriculum. Have you had have you had any pushback on that kind of thing? And the second part of that question is, what are you doing? Does every kid need the same math?
No, and we're problem solving around that. We have several kids who are not in all the same math, and we have some different maths available. We have some students that are accelerating, and by their junior year, they're ready to take Comp 1 and 2, or I have a couple freshmen right now who are in the midst of taking sophomore English, and it allows us to progress them through that. There are some kids that don't need calc, pre-calc, possibly not even, you need algebra 2 for the ACT, and that's a preparation, but beyond that, we're getting creative with the different business math. There may be a business math, a financial math, a real world learning math, and we're able to kind of pull those things and make it individualized for those students.
Yeah. We heard Dr. Watson say one day, he made the comment, he annoyed some people when he said this. He said, the kid that wants to be a plumber doesn't need Shakespeare.
Yes.
That doesn't go well with your English teachers, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are you dealing, I understand you haven't solved all these problems yet, but are those the kind of things that you're talking about and trying to figure out?
Yes, we're like I said, we have not resolved those issues yet. We've started with the internships to hopefully provide some credit towards that, but we have not solved the issue. Okay, I want to be a plumber. I don't need 11th grade English. What do we do in place of that? We're in the work of that. That's something that continued communication, continued brainstorming with district, with colleges, with certifications that they may get, industry certifications. So we're moving in that direction.
Great.
Good.
Jen, what didn't we ask you that you wish we would have asked you?
Oh gosh, you covered a lot. I guess maybe talking about the growth mindset of the grading, and that's a whole new concept for a lot of our for everyone, so rather than going through a unit, taking a test and moving on to the next unit, you're really looking at all of the standards across the board, and as you master those standards, you're moving on. But we're halfway through the year, so your grade is at the high school level, your grade is not going to be your grade until the end of the year. And 4.0 students that have always been 4.0 students, they're still 4.0 students, but their grade may not show that because they haven't learned everything they're going to learn. So That's been difficult. We're at the elementary level, we are going to standards-based grade cards for everything so that it's more transparent for the students and for the parents, what they need to learn by the end of the grade level. But the grading piece has been a huge piece that we're trying to help our community understand.
Yeah. Jen, I have a question for you. You brought it up, so it's your fault.
Oh, gosh.
We're doing a project with badges, and
Badges?
yes.
Oh, okay.
We're collaborating with Boy Scouts of America. We're working on the Girl Scouts and 4-H, but we have an English teacher that is using the badges for all their research projects. So instead of assigning a research project, kid picks a badge. Well, they're getting a lot of stuff besides just the reading, writing, speaking, listening, research on that.
Sure.
But when I dug into the English language arts standards for sophomore, junior English, there were 49 standards.
That's a lot.
Is that doable for us? I mean, to me, it was gobbledygook.
That's a perfect question. This gets into our visible learning and picking out essential standards and prioritizing.
Right. So we've
Absolutely.
really digging into the standards with our teachers. They've been working hard to help develop their scope and sequence for the year, and making sure that they know which standards are essential so that they can be successful at the next grade level. And which standards are going to be kind of anchor standards or supporting standards. But we need to know all of our standards and integrate in some way, but really focus on the standards that they're going to need in order to be successful at the next grade
I
level.
love those. I love the essential standards, because when you look at 49 standards for one class, it's gobbledygook.
Right.
Makes no sense.
So let me just push on the essential standards a little bit. I'm going to push back a little bit. So how are you determining the essential standards? Are the teachers doing it, or are we bringing in that business community that you went out to say, well, how do we need to change what we're doing?
We
Because
have
when I think about it,
three questions we ask ourselves. Is it beneficial for your life? Is it leverage? Meaning, do you need it to go on next year? And is it going to be tested?
So life, leverage, test.
Yes. Does it meet those three criteria?
In that order?
No, not in that order. No.
Nope.
and the reason I bring it up, because I'm a science teacher, and I will tell you, I have a lot of essential standards from the perspective of a science teacher. And some of those that I would say are essential.
I roll my eyes at them.
Yeah.
Right, because you're passionate about science, so sure.
Well, he's passionate about math, so Mr. Mathematician. So, you know, so that's where the question originates from. I think sometimes we as educators say, "Oh, what we do at the high school is the most important thing. Every kid ought to have metallurgy if you're the welding teacher." Well, you know, so how does that essential standard get derived? And that's the question. Well, you know, I like your three questions. I always think about that.
Yeah, we had a conversation with our superintendents last month at the Superintendent's Council about perhaps that core curriculum, that stuff that every single kid needs, is a lot smaller than what we've thought in the past.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Well, you get in trouble saying that, by the way.
No, I agree, because is it necessary for life? Are they going to use it in life? And of course, there are some things they have to know to be able to progress to the next level. I mean, that's just part of it. There are some things they have to know because we have to be tested. I mean, that's just part of who we are in our society right now. And until that goes away, I mean, those are things that we have to answer to.
Yeah. Well, guys, we could probably talk to you all day, but you guys have real jobs.
Yeah.
Hey, I want to thank you. This has been really good. You've given us, now we know who to focus on for guests for next month.
Yes.
We'll be calling Coffeyville.
We'll pester them.
We'll pester them next month. But thank you so much for doing this. We take this recording and we'll send it out to anybody that wants it. We have a whole list that we send to. I do want you to know Kevin Stuckey did respond to me through the chat with a rude comment.
Oh,
So
no.
I'm
Comment.
going to leave it. I'm going to leave it at that.
Let's hear it.
Well, now just
Well, he made some comment about the glare on the left side of the screen.
Oh, so I well, no.
Yeah.
I
Is
won't.
that us? Is that our lights up here?
It's our
I
hair.
think it's right up here.
It's our
I
hair.
prefer to think of it as angelic, but whatever.
It's the halo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, is it okay if people contact you and talk to you?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. We always want to make sure we check because, we're all in this together, redesigning our schools. And, we are so excited because every time we do one of these webinars, and you're the first principals and curriculum director we've had superintendents leading up to this. So it's real, everybody's done a great job, but it's not just one person that's doing redesign. It's all the various roles. So we're actually hoping to get pilots and co-pilots, those teachers. They're harder to get free during the day.
Yes.
Superintendents are pretty easy to get free during the day. So, hey, thank you again for joining us. And if there's anything we can do for you, let us know.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Have a great
Thank
week.
you. You
Bye-bye.
too.
Bye.
Thanks for all you do.